All right, let me see here. If have everything set and ready to go, let's see. Do I have this, that, and the other thing? I have this. Good, good, good. Okay, everything is good. I believe I am about as set as I can get. As I say that, now I don't really know what's going on here. Let's see. Okay. Got this, got that. All right. So, not really a planned episode for today. Like, just when I think I have some free time to get some things taken care of, it's like, nope. I get pulled back into other chores and such I need to take care of. But for today, as you can tell by the thumbnail, I thought I would share with you all a small stack of Iron Man comics I've collected over the years. I was never really a big Iron Man fan, but I did read a fair number of his books over the years. Getting things sorted here on my big old stack of books. And where is this book? What is this book? What is this one? This one? Oh, this one goes there. Okay. I want to thank you all for joining me today, whether you're live, lurking, or you catch me on a replay. Thank you all so much for joining me. Kind of a nice Saturday afternoon, or I hope it is where you are. Nice, sunny, good weather. Let's see, I might as well get this. This is an annual. Okay. So there I was way back when. Let me go ahead and fire up the old webcam here. There we go. So let's see some of the older books I've had over the years. These are old ones. I'm going to set those aside. Let's see. This is where I started off rebagging and reboarding some of the older Iron Man books I had. I had to go through several different short boxes trying to gather them all up. So I reposition my microphone here. The Invincible Iron Man, number 170. I believe this is the oldest Iron Man book I own. 170, 171 twice. 172, guest starring Captain America. $217. The armor changed, I believe. $218. Let's see. It was these books that I think really got me into. No, I was about to say what got me into. Oh, a couple of old Nova books. Okay, that's cool. Nova 25 and Nova number 9. Go and set those aside because those will be for another time. So, as far as comic book superheroes go, I was trying to think of what got me into Marvel first. Was it the X-Men or was it Iron Man? I'm leaning more toward the X-Men because I have a few older X-Men books from my collection that I started collecting and reading back then, a little bit before I started reading Iron Man. So let's, like this one for instance, let's open this out, pull this out and open them up. Let's see, volume 1, number 170, May of 19, looks like 83. The Invincible Iron Man. And who shall clothe himself in iron? We have Denny O'Neil doing the writing, Luke McDonnell doing the penciling, Steve Mitchell doing the inking, Rick Parker doing the lettering, Bob Sharon doing the coloring, Mark Grunwald doing the editing, and Jim Shooter, the editor-in-chief. Kind of having a look back at some of the older artwork in these older books. Wonderful ads. You always see these wonderful old ads in these older comic books. Kind of take you back to a bygone era. It has been ages since I've gone back and reread any of these books, so I may have to break down and reread some of these just to get the gist of the storylines. Let me see here. Well, I've got the internet right here. Let me do this. Because Marvel Wikipedia is your friend if you want to get right down to what the older books were about. Let's see. Well, this one, for instance, Iron Man number 170. There we go. Marvel.fandom.com. Let's see what the story in this particular issue was about. Featured characters, James Rhodes, synopsis for this particular issue. A besotted Tony Stark is unable to don the Iron Man armor and confront the villain Magma, who's attacking Stark International. As a result, Jim Rhodes dons the armor. Rhodes is unable to effectively manipulate the armor, but ultimately receives timely advice from Morley Irwin and eventually the armor's inventor, a drunken Tony Stark himself. When Rhodes is initially unable to stop Magma, Obadiah Stane sends his knight to stop Magma as he is destroying Stark International, which will soon change ownership to Stane himself. So this is going back a ways in the storyline. Gotta love the older cover art on these books because they really can grab your attention and have you wondering what the book is about. It's 222. All-out assault on Stark Enterprises. This is 235. 236. And here, 241. All right. And the Grip of the Mandarin. So let me see. Iron Man 241. Marvel Comics 1989. No, that can't be right. As I'm going through the Marvel Fandom.wiki here, and they have pretty much every older Iron Man book there is, or everything you would expect. Of course, I'm having to do a whole lot of scrolling here just to get to the ones I want. No. Let's go back and do a general search. 241. It should be a pretty key issue because it does say in the grip of the Mandarin, which we are teased with the Mandarin character in the MCU, but sadly disappointed. Oh, my computer is going slow today. There we go. Come on, computer. You can do it. You can do it. All right. There we go. Pulling that up right now. Let's see. This is a synopsis for this particular issue. Tony Stark has been working with a man named Huang Hao to try and establish business inroads in Hong Kong. He flies his staff, including Rhodey, Felix, and Mrs. Arbogast, to Hong Kong to negotiate a deal. But when he arrives, he discovers that Huang Hao has been murdered. All business in Hong Kong seems to be under the thumb of a man named Zhang Tong, as he is running himself ragged trying to solve Hao's murder. He receives a telephone call from Kathy Dare. Kathy wants to hop a jet to Hong Kong to visit him. Tony angrily tells her that there is no longer anything between them and that she needs to leave him alone. With Kathy's nonsense out of the way, Tony is now free to concentrate on Tong. It's revealed that Tong is actually the Mandarin. So let's have a look back at the who did what's here. Let's see. And the fine print is always so small and so blurry that I cannot read it. Volume 1, number 241, April of what looks like 1989. Of course, I can barely read that very small print there. I mean, everybody struggles to read that, right? Anyway, let's see. It says David Michelin. David M. did the plot and script. And Dennis Cohen doing the breakdowns. Bob Lighton, the plot and finished art. Janice Chang doing the lettering. Bob Sharon doing the coloring. Tom DeFalco, the editor-in-chief. And Iron Man's suits have always changed over the years. The artwork's not too terribly bad. This is pretty average for back then. It's been ages since I've read through these. Now, this is a pretty neat bit. You get somebody with one of the Mandarin's rings trying to stop Iron Man as he's approaching him. He's apparently using a gravitational field to make Iron Man sink into the ground. The guy goes, "He stopped. Did I kill him?" And on the next page, nope. Iron Man grabs the guy's leg, throws him, and busts out of the ground. And then he confronts the Mandarin himself. There's so many ways they could have introduced the real Mandarin into the MCU, but they did what they did, and it was kind of lacking how they handled that particular villain. All right, so those are some of the older ones going up to 241, kind of a... Oh, I've got gaps in my collection. It's like when you're a kid collecting and reading books, you get what you got at the time, because usually it's like whatever you had free money from your allowance to spend on, or whatever your parents got you at the time. So I'll have to go back and like make, let's see where I'm going to put these. I'm going to set these off to the side here. So I've got some of the biggest gaps in some of my older collections. So I went from 241 to 280. So that's a pretty sizable gap I will eventually fill over the years. 281. From the pages of Guardians of the Galaxy, the Stark. Let's open up. There we go. And I'm just going to throw that old bag and board away, because I am in the process of rebagging my books. Volume 1, number 280, May of 1992. We have Len Kaminsky doing the story, Kevin Hopgood doing the penciling, Andrew Hipoy the inks, Michael Hessler doing the lettering, and Mike Rockwitz doing the coloring, Nell Yomtov doing the editing, and Tom DeFalco, the chief editor. I know I've read these books, but it's just been multiple decades since I've gone back to any of them. So this is kind of refreshing to go back and see where the characters were so long ago. And the character Tony Stark always seems to have been in some kind of crisis, usually some kind of personal crisis, whether it's his drinking or his relationships. Then, oh yeah, he's got villains that he has to deal with. So let's go back a ways. Back to... Dun, 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 dun. Oh, mycomicshop.com. All right. Iron Man 241 has a value of $9 in good condition. That's interesting. And they're giving the date as 1968. As I look up Iron Man 280. Oh, goodness, yes. And the browser is asking me, do you want AI generated answer? No, I don't want AI generated answer. I don't want AI generated anything. I simply want to look up the synopsis. Iron Man 280. March of 1992. Is it going to give me a synopsis? Oh, there it is. Back from deep space, Tony tells Rhodes that the stresses from his recent heavy armor usage is burning out his neuronet, that he doesn't have long left. Seconds later, he is snatched through time and brought to the 22nd century of reality 691, by the programmers, a peaceful cast of the Stark species, an extraterrestrial race who found the Iron Man armors after they were launched into space. They adopted the technology and worshipped Tony Stark as their god. Sissop begs for Tony's help and bringing peace to his people who are overcome by violence and famine. Tony stays with them for some time, trying to solve their problems and wondering what caused the catastrophe that led him to fire his armor off to the Stark world. But when violent Stark barbarians find the programmer's bunker, Sissop arranges to send him home, lest his presence lead to temporal disruptions. As Tony is sent home, barbarians burst in and threaten to kill him. Sissops destroys them all to ensure that Tony returns home safely. But Tony arrives back in his own time moments after he left, desperately trying to hold on to the memory of where he has been so he can prevent the disaster that caused the Stark's future. He then collapses in front of a shocked Rhodes. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. All that going on in that particular issue. Since I am, here we go, the sound of 30-year-old Scotch tape. That wasn't very impressive. There we go. The Masters of Silence. Okay, I can tell they have changed their Marvel Comics changed their paper from like the 80s to the 90s, because the 80s books, the paper had more of a newsprint feel. The books in the 90s, I guess, a little bit stiffer, better grade paper. It does help the artwork. Following the events of the previous issue, Tony is still dealing with the effects his armor has had on his body. And we see War Machine. Iron Man 282. War Machine right there. Okay, just out of curiosity, let's see what particular value this has. I'm always curious. Iron Man 282. Uh-huh. And it is all over the place. All right. So it goes anywhere from 120 bucks to 220 bucks, depending on how it's graded. Some of the grading has it, oh goodness, $410, $450. I've never really been tempted to have a book graded and slabbed, but there are times I find myself tempted to. So that's interesting. I will leave that in the poly bag until I can find more about it, because that is pretty impressive. I'll eventually put it in a new Mylar bag. Iron Man 284, The Death of Anthony Stark. Oh boy, my computer is slow today. So I try to find... All right. $282. Going through Marvel's database here. $283. $284. Synopsis for this particular book. Once I get to it here, let's see. Apparent death of Tony Stark. James Rhodes becomes War Machine for the first time. All that and going on in issue 284. July of 1992. Let's see what is it valued? All right, okay. Grand value of $3.60. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. $285. Iron Man. Yet another change in the armor. So there's War Machine. So we went from his red and gold armor to the black and white War Machine armor. War Machine, the apparent death of Tony Stark. Atom Smasher. 288. 48-page anniversary special. All the nice gimmicky stuff you would expect to have in a gimmick book. All right, let's open them up and see what it looks like here. Volume 1, number 288, January of 1993. Yep. Haven't gotten to the page of the Who Does What's yet. Len Kamansky doing the writing. Kevin Hopgood doing the penciling. Mike DiCarlo doing the inking. Chris Eliopoulos doing the lettering. Mike Rockwitz doing the coloring. Nell Yomtov doing the editing. And Tom DeFalco, the editor-in-chief. So that's pretty neat. I'm going to put him back in the bag until I can get a Mylar bag for it. Just because it's the super shiny, spiffy, foily, gimmicky cover. And then, unlike the X-Men, I really didn't collect Iron Man books with any consistency. All right, so an older book here. Iron Man Marvel Annual, Atlantis Attacks, 1989. The Atlantean attack on the surface world begins, and an Avenger must die to stop them. All right. So this one should be pretty good. In fair condition. I have read it numerous times. I can tell by the condition of the book. Marvel Annual, Volume 1, Number 10, 1989. Which looks like 1, 2, 3 chapters of the story, then a portfolio, and then another story called Saga of the Serpent Crown. The story so far. While trying to retrieve his surfboard, the Silver Surfer inadvertently frees the deviant high priest Gower from his deep space imprisonment. After an inclusive battle, Gower flees to Earth in search of Lyra, the former high priestess of Lemuria. Gower reveals to Lyra his scheme to recreate the malevolent serpent crown in order to bring the serpent god Set to Earth and grant them both unlimited power. But to accomplish their audacious plan, allies must be recruited. The art is pretty good. I kind of like the art on this one. Older book, back to the older type of paper that these books have always had. Yeah, I'm kind of liking this artwork. Iron Man portfolio. Stark Enterprises. Then we have the different variations of the Iron Man armor up to that point. It's got a slight tear in the page right there, but oh well. Let's see who does what here. It looks like a blurry lettering that reads Peter Sanderson doing the writing, Mark Bagley doing the penciling, Keith Williams doing the inking, Jade Mode doing the lettering, Mark Surrey doing the coloring. Then we got Gregory Wright, the managing editor, Mark Grunwald doing the editing, Tom DeFalco, the editor-in-chief. And let me see if I can turn in a page or two and try to find I kind of like that artwork. Two F by C. It's got that old comic book smell to it. Like, yeah, if you're wondering what old comic books smell like, there's always the old newsprint paper that has a unique smell to it. Oh, well, that's interesting. I'm going to put it back in its bag just to give it some level of protection until I can get a new Mylar bag and board for him. There we go. Let's see, what next do I have here? A collection going all over the place. This is spring of 1993, the All Iron Man issue of Marvel Superheroes. 1963 to 1993, 80-page special. Let's see what he's about. If I've read this, I've only read it once. This will be I don't know, that spine is in pretty good condition for a book. Let's see. Now, multiple stories here. The Sting, Jim Owsley doing the story, Greg LaRocque doing the penciling, Vince Coletta doing the inking, Diana Albers doing the lettering, Paul Betkin doing the coloring, Checkmate, story by Jim Owsley. Who's doing what and what? Armando Gill doing the finishing, Greg LaRocque doing the breakdowns, Bruce Peterson doing the finishing, Diana Albers doing the lettering, Paul Becton doing the coloring. And for Gold Fever, Kurt Boziak doing the story, James Fry III doing the penciling, Jim Saunders III doing the inks, Richard Starkings doing the lettering, and Steve Matson doing the coloring. And then we got a number of pinups in here by Kev Hopsgood, Gene Colan, Bruce Patterson, Don Heck. Checkmate. Is this the... See if I can't find the portfolio part to see where... It's kind of interesting how they portray Iron Man's mask. It's either completely sealed or the eye slits are so open that you can see Tony Stark's eyes through them, which, when you think about it, doesn't really make much sense because you'd want it to be completely sealed up. That's cool. And in the bag he goes. The Iron Manual, number 1, 1963 to 1993, the Ultimate Operations Handbook of the Golden Avengers Armor. How many times have I read through this? Let's see. Written and drawn by Elliot R. Brown. Typesetting by Arlene Puentes. Colored by Christy Scheel. Cover art by Bill Sienkiewicz, if I pronounced that right. Assistant editors Richard Ashford and John Lewandowski. Nell Yomtov doing the editing, and editor-in-chief Dom DeFalco. Presented by Stan Lee. Special thanks Steve Ditko, Don Heck, James Saunders, R.F. Sharp, Bob Lighton, David Michelini, John Romita Jr., Len Kaminsky, Paul Ryan, Jack Kirby, Archie Goodwin, Paul Turgeon and Son, and Howard Mackey, if I read that right. This is a lot of text. This is the kind of text you would expect from a technical manual, I guess. The Ultimate Operations Handbook. Yep. Nice bits of detail here and there. So that's all pretty cool. That's in pretty good condition, so I'm going to put it back in the poly bag before I can get a Mylar bag for him. All right, so that was that one. Where did I initially leave off on my books? 288. All right, so 280, 289. Okay, that was 289. I'm going to set these aside over there. All right, so after 289 came 290, 30th anniversary special, 48 pages of all-out iron action. He's back. The return of Tony Stark. And for some reason, I have multiple issues of this. So there's 291 side by side with War Machine. Berserker on a Rampage, issue 292. This is really starting to feel like Iron Man 2 almost. Like he's back, he's fighting with War Machine. I think he squares off against another villain. $294, caught in a metal-crushing grasp of Technovore. But before I get too much further into these, I want to bust open 290 here. The sound of 30-year-old Scotch tape being ripped away from its poly bag. And we get a typical 90s gimmick cover of nice silvery golden looking foil. No embossing or anything like that. I'm kind of disappointed. Len Kamansky doing the writing chores. Kevin Hopsgood doing the penciling. Steve Mitchell doing the inking. John Costanza doing the lettering. Ariane doing the coloring. Ever how you pronounce this here name. Nell Yomtov doing the editing, and Tom DeFalco, editor-in-chief. Volume 1, number 290, March of 1993. Let's see. As it starts off on the page, we have this year's model. Starting off with cardiac command protocols, respiratory default settings, immunology batch files. So much to do, so little RAM. Miles of techno-organic fiber, an artificial nervous system designed to maintain the most complex machine, yet conceived by nature, the human body. And then it goes back to referencing Iron Man number 284, The Mystery of Tony Stark's Death. And he comes out of it to find himself in a hospital. All the chaos and mayhem going on while he is rebuilding himself. That's a pretty good shot right there. Artwork is pretty good on these. Stark Enterprises Technical Database. Neuromimetic Telepresence Unit. That's a mouthful. So that's pretty cool. I keep thinking I'll either break down and reread all these older books or get myself a subscription to Marvel Digital and read them, the digital comics. Should probably be a little bit more convenient going through all the digital issues that I've missed over the years and kind of fill in the gaps that way. Let's see. So that was, here's issue 294. 297, from the pages of X-Men, Omega Red. Oh, this was interesting. He's squaring off against a Wolverine villain. October of 1993. Very cool. I'll have to go back and reread that one. All right. So that's the older ones. Oh, 242, 244, 275. So my collection's all over the place here. 240. All right, so 242 came after 241, of course. That's usually how it goes. 242, missing 243. There's 244. 275, giant size special Iron Man. The stunning finale of the Dragon Seed saga, where he's squaring off against a Mandarin. Now, why couldn't we get a decent Mandarin in the MCU? They never could have done it with 3 movies. I'll set these off to the side here. There we go. Jim Rhodes, The Armor and the Attitude, War Machine #1. This is foil, not only foil, but it's embossed. So it's like the peak of the gimmick cover era. This is Volume 1, #1, April of 1994. Scott Benson and Len Kaminsky doing the writing chores. Gabriel Gecko doing the penciling. It looks like Pam Eklund doing the inking. John Costanza doing the lettering. Ariane doing the coloring. Nell Yomtov, editor, and Tom DeFalco, editor-in-chief. And of course, on the inside front cover, you get the embossing showing through, so that's kind of odd. Wait a second. Was that? Yep. There we go. Colonel Fury. Nick Fury. Over at, I guess, SHIELD headquarters. So that's interesting. All right. Little odd collection of books here and there. I get Iron Man #1. November of 96. So yeah, I kind of skipped over a portion of the 90s and went to what is this, volume 2, I'm guessing. The Origin of the Invincible Iron Man, Heart of the Matter. Scott Lobdell and Jim Lee doing the story. Willis Portacio doing the penciling. Scott Williams and J.D. inks. Joe Chiado and Martin Jimenez doing the coloring. Wildstorm Effects computer colors. Richie and Dave at Comic Craft doing the lettering. And that is a very odd looking variation of the Iron Man armor. Oh, yep. Volume 2, number 1, November of 96. Different art style. Kind of darker, moodier art compared to previous Iron Man entries. Is this Iron Man? Because this does not have the look and feel of an Iron Man book. As I'm flipping through the page, I don't mind the artwork. The artwork's kind of neat, but it's kind of dark and contrasty compared to previous Iron Man books. And up the end, he dons the Iron Man armor, only to find a huge Hulk. So I don't know what to think about that. That does not have the look and feel of traditional Iron Man. That's kind of odd. And a couple of things from my Iron Man stack, the collection of Iron Man books I've had over the years. Marvel Comics Annual, Assault on Armor City Part 1 and Part 2. Guest starring Iron Man, The Showdown You Demanded, Darkhawk. So Iron Man versus Darkhawk. And then Part 2, Avengers, which looks like West Coast. Iron Man, Darkhawk, U.S. Agent, and Scarlet Witch. All right, let's open these up to have a look at them. See where I am time-wise. I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon. This is kind of a unplanned, spur of the moment, semi-planned, somewhat planned live stream to get back into my Saturday comic book live streams. I know I've read this, but again, it's been multiple decades, so the story escapes me. Volume 1, Number 1, 1992 Darkhawk Annual. I kind of remember Darkhawk. I don't know that much about the particular character, which is kind of odd. The artwork's not too bad. Danny Fingroth doing the writing. Mike Manley doing the art. Kevin Tinsley doing the coloring. Phil Felix doing the lettering. Nell Yomtov again doing the editing. Tom DeFalco, of course, editor-in-chief. I don't know who Darkhawk is. I know I've probably read a few of his books and thought he was a neat character, but how he compares to Iron Man, I have no idea. But anyway, go and set this aside. So that is part 1, part 2, and then we have part 3 right here. Marvel Comics Annual Assault on Armor City Part 3, which I'm guessing is the end of it. Looks pretty good. Anyway, I've got stuff I need to take care of in the afternoon here. So I'm going to end the live stream on this. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. Where am I? I'm going to do stop my camera. There we go. My computer is going really slow. I don't know how it's going to affect the live stream. I'm going to check it later on and see what it looks like. Anyway, I'm going to end it right here. I want to thank you all for catching me live or lurking or catching on a replay. Thank you all so much. Fun comic. Enjoy the afternoon wherever you are. Hopefully the weather is nice. Until next time, everyone. Later.